Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. In today's video, we'll be looking at finding the modulus or the absolute value of a complex number. So before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Alright, let's start. So basically, the first thing you should know is this. Given a complex number, z being equivalent to a plus bi, the modulus or the absolute value of z is equivalent to the root of a squared plus b squared. As simple as this. So be mindful of this. These represents an absolute form, which means that our answer should always be positive. Without wasting time, let's quickly look at some examples that will make us understand clearly. So, say we have examples that say find the absolute value, or we could say the modulus of the following. Alright, so suppose we have a, which is equivalent to 3 plus 4i. In order for us to find the absolute value of this, we first say let z be equal to 3 plus 4i. Then basically, we know that from the standard form, z being equivalent to a plus bi, we know that a is 3 and b is 4. So the absolute form of z, or the absolute value to say of z, is equivalent to the root of a squared plus b squared. So the absolute value will be the value of a, 3 squared, plus the value of b, 4 squared. So the absolute value of z is equivalent to 9 plus 16. This will give us 25. And the root of 25 will give us z being equivalent to 5. So the absolute value of this here is simply what? 5, that we have found here. Let's move on to the second example. B. Suppose we have z being equivalent to minus 5 plus 12i. So we know from the standard form, z being equivalent to a plus bi, we know that a is minus 5 and b is 12. So the absolute value of z is equivalent to the root of a squared plus what? B squared. So the absolute value of z is equivalent to the root of a is minus 5 squared plus b, which is 12 squared. So this gives us minus 5 squared is 25 and 12 squared is simply 144. So the absolute value of z is going to be the root of 169. And the square root of 169 is simply 13. It's a perfect squares. Simple to understand. Let's look at C. Say C has 8 minus 15i. Basically, we say let z be equal to 8 minus 15i. Then we know that z is equal to, the magnitude of z is equal to a squared plus b squared. So the magnitude of z is equal to the value of a, which is 8 squared, plus the value of b, which is minus 15 squared. So the magnitude, or the absolute value, or the modulus of z is simply equal to 8 squared, which is 64, plus 15 squared. 15 squared will give us 225. If we add the two values together, we'll be having a root of 289. Square root to 89, our final value will be what? 17. This is very, very simple to understand with practice, that is. Now let's look at more examples relating to absolute value questions. Alright, so let's try and look at another example, which will be D. Suppose you have z being equivalent to 4 minus 6i we know that the magnitude of z, or the absolute value of z, is a squared plus b squared. So the magnitude of z is equal to the value of a is 4, so 4 squared, plus the value of b is minus 6 squared. So the magnitude of z is equivalent to the root of 16 plus 36. Now this would be z being equivalent to, if you add the two, you end up having a 52. Root of what? 52. In sad form, this can be written as 2 root 13, but for now, believe in our answers as unsimplified as just 52. So the magnitude is 52. Let's be mindful of this. Let's go to another example. This should be BC E. You might end up forgetting your letters. Anyway, z is equal to 3. You know, the standard form of all complex numbers cannot just be one particular value. So we say z is equal to, we have the real part, but we don't have an imaginary part. 3 plus 0i. Now be mindful, whenever you have one value, either just one real part or one imaginary part, the magnitude of that complex number is just literally the number that you have. So which means that the magnitude of z being equivalent to the root of a squared plus b squared will simply just be the value we had here, which is 3. But let's try and show that. So magnitude of z is equal to the root of 3 squared plus 0 squared. The magnitude of z is equivalent to 9 plus 0. Magnitude of z is equal to the root of what? 9. And the absolute value will finally be 3. Simple as that. It implies the same even if I gave you something like, say z is equal to minus 4i. So the absolute value of z will simply be the positive value of whatever value that you've been given. This will be written as z being equivalent to 0 minus 4i. The absolute value is equivalent to the root of a squared plus what? B squared. And the absolute value will be equivalent to a being 0 squared plus b being minus 4 squared. So the absolute value of this will be simply the root of what? 16, because this will be 0 plus 16. So the absolute value is basically 4. As simple as this. Alright, let's look at the last example. G. Say you have z being equal to 3 plus 3i. You know that the absolute value of z is the root of a squared plus b squared. So the absolute value of z is equal to the root of a is 3 squared and b is also 3 squared. So the absolute value of z is equivalent to 9 plus 9. So the absolute value is simply root of what? If you add the two, you get 18. So the absolute value is the root of 18. I'm mostly just allowing you people just to leave your answer in this format, simply because your final answers can be written in sad form, but due to the fact that I haven't explained SADs yet, I'd advise you just leave your answers in this form and you won't be penalized. In the future videos, I will explain SAD formats. Alright, we'll end here on this example. So the answer will just be root 18. Alright, my name is Mr. Hussein Mwasapi, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember to strategize before you become a statistic, and let's try and push for that A+.